Welcome back to Doctor Who The Cancelled Chronicles. Today we have the final series of the Bernice Summerfield Adventures for you. Not much to really go into, so let's move on to the video. As mentioned in the video on the Bernice Summerfield Adventures, Series 3 and 4, the episode count for Series 4 would be split into Series 4 and Series 5. So once Series 4 was greenlit, Series 5 would be greenlit as well. This series would see the return of Jason Kane, now Bernice's ex-husband, at least the version that is being showcased here, and he would be a recurring character. Outside of that, nothing would really change. The first episode is Good News and Bad News, written by Paul Cornell. Bernice sees her now ex-husband again after leaving the pyramid on Earth. He's a sleazeball, con artist, and a coward. She could never really figure out how she fell in love with him in the first place. Manipulation, perhaps? Well, unfortunately, after a drunken encounter with the two of them, Bernice is about to get some good news and bad news. This would be the episode that would obviously reintroduce Jason Kane after last being seen in Series 2. They would catch up with Bernice trying to remain respectful, but we would get a peek into their relationship and why it fell apart, as we didn't see any falling out on screen. Well, eventually the two get a little bit too tipsy and they eventually have sex, although it's obviously not shown, just heavily implied. Bernice tries to move on with her life after this and doesn't want to think about him anymore. A couple weeks go by and she starts to feel worse for wear. She then eventually goes to the doctor and finds out that she is in fact pregnant. She never really wanted kids, so she doesn't really view this as good news, especially with it being Jason's child. But the doctor pushes that this is good news. The rest of the episode is essentially Bernice trying to track down Jason to tell him that she's pregnant with his child. Even though she hates him, he still deserves to know. By the end of the episode, Bernice is more content with the idea of having a child and eventually tracks him down. Jason is in the middle of something and tries to, get rid of her, shoo her off, whatever, but she eventually then just comes out with it and tells him, and he's shocked, but he then smiles, and that's where the episode ends. The second episode is The Infernal Nexus, written by Dave Stone. Acting on an abstruse tip-off from the renowned paraphysiologist Dr. Rupert Gilhooly, one Bernice Summerfield has found herself on a probe ship heading down into the problematic heart of the galaxy, not knowing what or quite who she might find. What she finds is Station Control, a place that exists simultaneously in 417 dimensions, a brawling, souk-like nexus between every world that can or has or ever will be, and one of those dimensions is hell. Bernice knows nothing of the rivalries and power plays going on here, so she blunders right into them and makes a couple hash of everything natch, and one of the particular whoms she finds, quite frankly, what with one thing and another, she could quite well do without in her current state. This would be based on the novel of the same name, with little changes, one of them being the inclusion of Jason, who is talking to her through an earpiece and trying to support whatever she is doing, but he would never actually be shown on screen. The third episode is A Swift Kick, written by Lawrence Miles. Bernice is at a rich party undercover with Jason and starting to show. She is trying to find a prominent figure who is trying to keep information about an ancient colony to himself, killing to reach his goal. Benny needs to find out why. However, one small incident might unravel their entire plan. This would essentially be a comedy of errors episode where they're undercover and being sneaky, but a kick from the baby causes Bernice to accidentally slap someone in the back of the head, which leads to an entire episode unraveling from this one incident. By the end of the episode, the person in question is so angry and overwhelmed by what has happened at his party that he reveals that he was keeping the colony under lock and key because the reason that it became lost was because of his ancestors. With that, he didn't want it traced back to him. Bernice eventually has him arrested for various murders and moves on. The fourth episode is The Mines of Fear, written by Justin Richards. Bernice and Jason investigate an old mining world for a seemingly lost artifact and get trapped in the mines and must figure a way out. This would essentially be a ticking clock story, with the mines becoming more and more dangerous due to the gas that has been spreading once they get sealed inside. The gas would essentially kill them after a few hours of inhalation and could also be ill for the baby, obviously. Eventually, they manage to find a way out, but without the artifact they were looking for. However, Bernice gets checked and her baby is still perfectly healthy, which she cares about more in the end anyway, and shows some character development with her and being more and more content with being a mother. The 5th episode is The Glass Prison, written by Jacqueline Rayner. Don't ever annoy the 5th Axis. They might throw you into the glass prison on Durbahile, and then throw away the key. Once you're inside, there's nowhere to hide. They can see your every movement. They control you. You're going to be watched for the rest of your life, wherever you go, whoever you are. Even if you're a professor of archaeology. Even if you're a friend of the famous Irving Braxiatel, and you've written several popular coffee table books. Even if you're pregnant. Even if your baby's due any day now. But of course, they know all about your baby, and they're planning to take it away. That is, if the loony cultists you're locked up with don't get it first. This would be based on the novel of the same name, with little changes. The 6th and final episode is Happy Together, written by Paul Cornell. Bernice is ready to pop, but she's stuck on the other side of the galaxy with Jason and no doctor or hospital in sight. How in the hell are they going to get out of this one? It's kind of a ticking clock story, but that wouldn't be the main focus. It would more so be a character-driven episode between the two of them, talking about how they've grown closer and how Jason has stepped up as a father and that sort of thing. They eventually manage to get to a small, rundown, nearly abandoned hospital, and Bernice gives birth to a healthy baby boy who she names Peter. They eventually manage to get off the planet. Jason asks if this would stop her from adventuring, and looking into her baby's eyes, she says, "Not a chance," and the series ends. This series was sort of run-of-the-mill and was somewhat mixed, not bad but not great, but it did serve as a nice ending to the show, which was confirmed by both Cornell and the BBC. Cornell stated that while he had some idea of what he could do for a Series 6, he ultimately decided to end the show here as it felt like a proper ending, but also having it be a bit open-ended in case they want to use the character of Bernice later on. The BBC would eventually comply with this, although it was mainly because the ratings went significantly down. But that's it for now. Sorry for this very quick episode, but I still haven't been feeling great after, being sick for pretty much a whole month last month. So I apologize. The next episode with the 11th Doctor will be much more concrete. It'll be much longer and whatnot. So with all that will be coming out in July, and hopefully I can have some other videos for you in the meantime. Remember to give me any suggestions for Shadows of the Unmade or any episodes ideas for even my alternate Marvel and DC type series. But until the next video, whatever that may be, I'll see you later.